Good morning. This morning, I christened this channel the Mesa of Life. It's been a long time coming, but it's a culmination of all the ideas I've explored here and a maturation of it into a direction with meaning. This morning, I say out loud what millions of people already feel in their bones, but we've been forced to swallow in silence. We are living in a vampire age. Look around you. We stand on the brink of world war, draft talk, civil fracture, civil war, a wrecked economy, hollowed out towns, dead end work that nobody really believes in, poisoned courtship, and a level of hopelessness so thick you can taste it in the air all around you. People are absolutely exhausted. Families are strained or non-existent, and the young are being raised inside a machine that wants them numb before they're even old enough to know what has been stolen from them. And still, this vampiric age asks more of them. That's how you know what you're dealing with is absolute darkness. And it's time we draw a line in the sand. A healthy civilization does not feed on its own people. It does not drink their future, strip them of their dignity, hollow out their marriages, poison the meeting places between man and woman, grind their labor into dust, and then turn around and tell them all that this is progress. No, that is not what a healthy civilization does. And I'm tired, like all of you, pretending like that's what it is. We don't turn children into markets in a healthy civilization or turn adults into addicts. We don't turn love into some fucked up pathology, art into this slurry of slop, and spiritual hunger into a level of control instead of enlightenment. That's why I'm naming the enemy this morning. It has to be done. Vampires are real, just not in the way you might think that they are. They're in systems, like what the Matrix talked about. They're in appetites people have developed, institutions and ideologies that twist your will and your soul around. They're dead arrangements that cannot create a living culture. So they survive by draining you. They feed on your attention, on your innocence, on your longing, on beauty, on courage, and the soul's hunger for meaning itself. They take the very best things in people and run them through a black machine until what comes out is weak enough to manage and empty enough to consume. Then they smile at the ruin and call it normal, and so do we now. But not today. Not any longer. I'm tired of that fucking game. I'm done with that lie. I'm done pretending that this sickness is accidental somehow. We've just taken a misstep. I'm done speaking about it like it's just some unfortunate misunderstanding. No, it's not. And all of you reasonable people out there know it isn't either. We've tried that. We've tried patience. We've tried compliance. We've tried soft language. We've tried analyzing this from all angles. We tried trusting that if we bent a little bit more, waited a little bit longer, cleaned up our tone, spoke a little more nicely, accepted a little less truth and a little less beauty and dignity, that maybe the vampire's hunger would stop. It never stops, and it never will until people stand up and say, no, I'm not going to have your fucking World War III. No, I'm not okay with us being addicted to oil. No, I'm not okay with all the movies that suck and shove ideologies down my throat instead of entertaining me. That is the lesson of the vampire. You do not ever satisfy it. It is a gaping void that has no bottom. You don't negotiate it into mercy. You don't bleed just a little and walk away whole. You don't give it your time and give it your mind and expect a beautiful future to sprout out of that. You don't give it your children. You don't give it what it wants so completely that they begin to think success means becoming sweet enough to be consumed without resistance. That's what we convince of ourselves, and that's what we convince our children. Just make your blood sweet enough for a college, for a job, for the military, for XYZ, for a religion. Just make your blood sweet enough that somebody out there is going to want to drain you dry. That is our current measure of success, and I say no more. I declare war on these vampires, and I ask anybody within the sound of my voice to stand up and do the same thing. Now, this war, it doesn't mean, bullets and bombs and fire. That's not what I'm talking about. This is a war of saying no. No. They hate that word. They hate that word. I reject this entire system and this entire vampiric age with my whole being. And I am here to tell you all, we are not food. You are not food. I am not food. Your children are not food. And we need to say it loudly and proudly together. Your husband's not food. Your wife's not food. Your grandma's not food. The school is not a blood farm for these vampires. The movie theater is not either. The stage is a place where people should cultivate new and interesting ideas and challenge old ones. Your dreams are not food. Your grief that you feel about the lost opportunities in the future we could have had, that is not food either. Your tension, your future, your deepest spark in you, the part that still aches for the truth, for beauty, for courage, for God, the universe, spirituality, meaning, laughter, and clean, decent human contact. That spark is not here to be farmed by dead things wearing civilized faces. That is the line in the sand that I'm drawing here today with each and every one of you. And that is where the mesa of life begins. That is the core of this project, is to say no to that and to not be convinced to just walk off the edge of life itself like a lemming. I'm not here to entertain the collapse. This channel is not here to decorate the cage with prettier language while the blood keeps draining out of people. It is here to plant a standard in the ground and say that the human soul is sacred territory and it shall not be trespassed. It is here to teach people how to stay human under heat. how to hear the bell when the spell comes down, how to see the trap before it closes in on you, how to keep your spirit from being conscripted into systems that survive by making human beings smaller and easier to control and get a leash on you. Because that's what this age does best. It doesn't merely oppress you, it possesses you. It gets inside the mind and it starts redefining reality. It redefines reality from the wound it creates in you outward. It trains people to distrust everything that could save them. It teaches them to laugh at beauty, to sneer at reverence, to fear strength, to flatten out mystery, and to treat your own longing like embarrassment. It turns appetite into this fucked up identity where you can't even recognize yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror. It turns confusion into dependency of what should I do, news anchor man? Who should I be mad at today? And it creates an alienation economy where we all divide and conquer each other. They don't even have to do anything. We do it to each other. Like crabs in a fucking bucket. No. I've had enough. I've had enough of the dead voice of this age telling people to lower their standards until degradation starts to feel realistic and you don't even know why you wake up for work in the morning. I've had enough of being told to call despair maturity and spiritual malnourishment wisdom. I've had enough of the rooms with no soul in them whatsoever and conversations with no blood or warmth in them. Haven't you? Haven't you had enough of that shit? Don't you want to know where you can go, where you can be yourself, or maybe even discover it? Maybe you haven't had the opportunity to discover that. To have entertainment with no danger in it, that's crazy. We need a little danger. We need a little something. We need a little edge. And we've been told that that's offensive, ridiculous, to have relationships with no gravity in them whatsoever, and institutions that speak as though the human being is nothing more than a manageable animal with a few programmable cravings. That vision of humanity is absolute blasphemy. It's blasphemy to the human heart itself. It's beyond any ideology or religion. And I am not ever going to make peace with it. This is a declaration of war. Not a war on human beings in itself. Not a war on individuals, a war on feeding structures that turn human beings into prey. A war on the machinery that survives by draining what is brightest inside of us. On every parasitical system that wants your kid confused, your marriage weak, your mind divided, your soul tired, your standards so broken that you start mistaking captivity for comfort. And we have a mass case of Stockholm Syndrome. And war means a counterattack. So what's this counterattack look like? What am I proposing here exactly? I am proposing the Garden of Light. The Garden of Light isn't some cute little side project I'm doing. It's part reclamation. It's part of the answer to a dead civilization. One of the most radical things that you could ever do is build a room where people actually come back to life. A revival of the human mind and the human heart. A room with a fucking pulse in it, man. Not just chaos, not just people yelling at each other, not just people making fun of each other all the damn time. A room where the music can wake the blood, where comedy can snap the chains instead of tightening them around you to convince you that you need to make your blood just a little bit sweeter to make everybody happy, to get on your knees to entertain. A place where beauty is allowed to land without being mocked to death, and feed the nihilism and widen the void that more of your brothers and sisters can fall into. A place where men and women can look at each other again without being poisoned with grammar of an age, shallowing the whole moment. That is the front of this war. A dead age produces dead rooms, dead shows, dead movies, dead music. And it produces dead people. Then the vampires feed easily. So, I'm building living rooms again. I want to build places where people leave stronger than when they arrived. To make art that remembers it has a duty. It's not just for fun. To make gatherings a return to courage, to the chest, to the soul, to the body. Where the human spirit is not treated like an inconvenience that you should be embarrassed about. Where laughter is not just anesthesia. I mean, doesn't it feel like that? That they're asking you to laugh until you just forget how much your life sucks? No, I'm done with that. We need presence that still means something. I don't see it in churches. I don't see it in movies. I don't see it in shows. I don't see it in comedy. I don't see it anywhere except in very small slivers. And those people are the ones that have turned the fucking TV off. A place where the lonely are not immediately harvested for your entertainment. And where the old human fire has a chance to catch again, to warm up your heart. That's not just fucking nostalgia. That is the resistance. And that is how you break the feeding spell in the real world. You build something that the parasite cannot imitate because it does not understand life well enough to create it. I know what I'm saying this morning. I know the weight of it. I am directly saying this civilization, as it stands, has become too comfortable feeding on the living. It feeds on the worker and it calls it efficiency. It feeds on the artist and calls it content. And it feeds on your children and calls it education. It devours your family and calls it modernization. And it blends up and sips on spiritual hunger and calls it lifestyle. Feeding on human fragility and calling it care. Enough. Your fucking cover is blown. The old tricks are spent and the soft language is over. This morning forward, I am naming the thing for what it is whenever I see it, and I call for you to do the same. I will name the trap. I will ring the bell. I will light the fucking fires of Gondor, and I will build what can be built and fight for what remains human in a time when too many people have already accepted managed decline as the future's singular offer. I do not accept it. I do not accept a future where children are born into a feeding apparatus and taught to love the teeth and show how many bite marks they have on them and how sweet their blood is and call that success. I don't accept a world where love is absolutely poisoned to the nth degree and beauty is just trivialized. Men broken down into appetite and women flattened into self-erasure. Then you have the soul being treated like a superstition until that day somebody powerful finds a way to monetize it or suck it through a Neuralink. We should not accept the doctrine that we must become emptier, duller, more programmable to be successful, to have a life, to have a living wage. We shouldn't be ashamed of our own longing in order to survive this fucking century. That is not survival. That is no future for humanity. That is absolute surrender. And I'm not here to surrender. I'm here to build. So hear me clearly. The Mesa life begins today as a refusal to be farmed. A refusal to hand over the sacred center in man itself. And refusal to let the future belong to parasites. We don't have to let the room go dead without a fight. We should all stand up and refuse to let the young be taught that their highest purpose is to become useful to systems that hate them and hate their innocence, and they fear their freedom and what they might choose to do with it. This is the raising of a banner, the opening bell, and the moment that we all say together with our chest that there is such a thing as the human soul and that it matters. Damn it. It matters and it's worth defending. And that every structure built on draining it deserves open opposition. And to every vampire in the system, to every bloodless throne, every parasite out there that's arranged for this future on the assumption that the people would stay confused, divided, ashamed, and exhausted, spiritually starved long enough to be harvested forever. I want you to listen to me very well. You have fed on us long enough. You have hidden behind the language of progress, called predation care, weakness some warped virtue, and desecration freedom. All while you are draining people of their real success and their real light. That ends when every living man and woman remembers what they are and why they are here. And it ends where somebody finally says no to the whole fucking thing. It's as simple as that. Saying no. And that ends where people decide that their children are going to be raised as feedstock for a dead empire that doesn't care about you. It ends when the room comes alive again. So I'm asking you all to bring whatever light is still burning within you to your neighbors, to your friends, to your family, to whatever you have left of human connection. And bring that ember that refused to go out and to spit in the eye of these vampire sons of bitches. To bring the part of you that still hates the lie that you were sold and still loves the human being enough to fight for them. Be that. Because this is the mesa of life. And we should all be doing everything we can to keep each other from sliding off the edge. Join me in this declaration of war against these fucking vampires. Remember, you are not food. Famous thigh.